Wishing to get a better view than I had yet had of the ocean, which we are told covers more than 2/3 of the globe, but of which a man who lives a few miles inland may never see any trace, I have spent in all about 3 weeks on the Cape, walked from Eastham to Provincetown twice on the Atlantic side, and once on the Bay side also. But having come so fresh to the sea, I have got but little salted. H.D. Thoreau. Far below us was the beach, from half to a dozen rods in width, with a long line of breakers rushing to the strand. The waves broke on the bars at some distance from the shore, and curving green and yellow as if over so many unseen dams, 10 or 12 feet high, like 1,000 waterfalls, rolled in foam to the sand. There was nothing but that savage ocean between us and Europe. The sun rose visibly at such a distance over the sea that the cloud bank in the horizon, which at first concealed him, was not perceptible until he had risen high behind it, and plainly broke and dispersed it like an arrow. But as yet, I looked at him as rising over land, and could not, without an effort, realize that he was rising over the sea. I confess I was surprised to find that so many men spent their whole day, aye, their whole lives, almost a-fishing. This sandbank, the backbone of the Cape, rose directly from the beach to the height of 100 feet or more above the ocean. It was with singular emotion that we first stood upon it and discovered what a place we had chosen to walk on. On our right, beneath us, was the beach of smooth and gently sloping sand, a dozen rods in width. Next, the endless series of white breakers. Further still, the light green water over the bar which runs the whole length of the forearm of the Cape, and beyond this stretched an unwearied and illimited ocean. Before the land rose out of the ocean and became dry land, chaos reigned, and between high and low watermark, where she is particularly disrobed and rising, a sort of chaos reigns still. The lighthouse lamps were still burning, though now with a silvery luster, when I rose to see the sun come out of the ocean. For he still rose eastward of us, but I was convinced that he must have come out of a dry bed beyond the stream, though he seemed to come out of the water. Though for some time I have not spoken of the roaring of the breakers and the ceaseless flux and reflux of the waves, yet they did not for a moment cease to dash and roar with such a tumult that, if you had been there, you could scarcely have heard my voice the while. And they are dashing and roaring this very moment, though it may be with less din and violence, for there the sea never rests. The Wellfleet oysterman took pleasure in telling us the names of the ponds, most of which we could see from his window, and making us repeat them after him to see if we had got them right. They were Gull Pond, the largest and a very handsome one, clear and deep, and more than a mile in circumference. Newcombs, Sweats, Slows, Horseleech, Round, and Herring Ponds, all connected at high water. They will tell you tough stories of sharks all over the Cape, which I do not presume to doubt utterly. How they will sometimes upset a boat or tear it in pieces to get at the men inside. I can easily believe in the undertow, but I have no doubt that one shark in a dozen years is enough to keep up the reputation of a beach 100 miles long. The seashore is a sort of neutral ground, a most advantageous point from which to contemplate this world. It is even a trivial place. The waves, forever rolling to the land, are too far traveled and unattainable to be familiar. It was not as on the map or seen from the stagecoach, but there I found it all, out of doors, huge and real. Cape Cod. What are springs and waterfalls? Here is the spring of springs, the waterfall of waterfalls. A storm in the fall or winter is the time to visit it. A lighthouse or a fisherman's hut, the true hotel. A man may stand there and put all America behind him.